Hey y'all,
What's up?
we're getting a call here.
Which we should definitely answer immediately.
Yeah, so I don't know yet how the branches in this game work out. I haven't. There are some science adventure games that you absolutely need a guide just to even play through the first time. I don't think this is one of them. Robotics Notes I will always hate for that reason. But we're just going to go ahead and just do what we feel like this first time around, see where it leads us.
And what we feel like is always answering Amadeus.
Call from It just says Kurisu. I guess it says Amadeus right there, but still. Oh, what the?
I figured you would have reached the lab by now.
Hold on, I need some Dwarven ale for this.
Are you old enough to drink?
What is the legal age to drink in Japan, actually? I don't know. Maybe?
I'm pretty sure he isn't.
He is a university student. Are you going to narc on him? You're really going to narc on a university student for drinking?
Maybe he is. He's 20.
Is 20? Okay, yeah, I think it's fine. So what, he was born 1990?
I don't know. Is he 20 or is he...
He's probably 19 at this point, I think.
I see.
Because I think Maho is... Because Maho's like, what, 21 by this point? I think Kurisu would have been... 18? I don't know. Either way. I ran into the development room in the back, clutching my smartphone. You've got a lot of free time, don't you?
Why are you lowering your voice? Do you not want your friends to know about me?
Of course not. I hadn't even checked with Maho and Dr. Leskinen to see if it was okay to tell other people about Amadeus. That's a reasonable reason, but the reason is that if they see Kurisu, if Daru, Suzuha, or Mayuri see Kurisu, they will have questions with a capital Q.
Well, that's fine. I can figure out what's going on.
Kurisu lowered her voice as well.
Just give me a little look around the room. All you have to do is hold the camera up.
Sheesh. I sighed and held the smartphone up to my chest. I spun around once like I was taking a video with my camera.
Filthy.
That's your first impression?
Sorry, I'll try that again. It's full of junk.
Well, that wasn't much better. Well, it was true, so...
I know labs are never clean, but this is especially bad. It's about as bad as Maho's hotel room.
Is it okay to share her private information like that?
You should tell her to clean her room too.
She'd bite my head off if I tried that.
But still...
Kurisu paused and then smiled.
I kind of always wanted to have a shared room like this.
Huh?
It must be pretty nice if there are all these people here.
Kurisu, So that's what attracted her to the Future Gadget Lab in the first place.
Yep.
Despite the fact that she is an accredited scientist.
Just having people to talk with
People her
and
age
hang
who will
out.
talk to her, even if it's just Okabe being Okabe. Yeah, Kurisu, in the Alpha World line, you said the same thing. You really, Oh, is this gonna... Oh, Suzuha's in here still, right. Uncle, who are you talking to? Duh! I suddenly heard a girl's voice from under the desk and was so surprised I screamed. Who's there? Shh, be quiet! Uh-huh, is that you, Suzuha? Shush! Was she hiding? But why? Daru, Mayuri, and Yuki heard me scream and ran over to see what the problem was.
Ocarine, what's wrong?
Huh? Is that Suzuha? The one who sounds suspiciously like me, but with a lower voice? Uh-oh. Wonder why that is. Any ideas, anyone?
What? What's up, honey? What's up? Suzuha looked upset. It was only then that I realized who she was hiding from. Okabe, you kind of suck at this.
And now for our next story. Yasukazu Komazawa, a member of the Diet's House of Representatives, held a press conference today at 10 o'clock a.m. to announce his resignation after accepting illegal donations from corporations.
Wow, imagine that. All right, so that's our last conversation with Maho. We can't. Okay, so we can't just call Amadeus. Amadeus will call us. Okay. Someone had left the TV on, and it was playing the afternoon news. Suzuha knew no one was watching it, but she used the remote to turn up the volume anyway. She wanted to keep the girls in the shower room from hearing us. I could hear Mayuri and Yuki laughing from the shower. Things had gotten really awkward when Yuki had found Suzuha, but Mayuri quickly came up with a plan. At first, her plan was for the three of them, including Suzuha, to shower naked together and hopefully get Yuki and Suzuha more comfortable around one another. Mayuri, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but also no. Stop. But Suzuha said the shower room was too small for 3 people and refused.
I know what will make this less awkward. What if we took our clothes off? Then it won't be awkward.
Okay, Mayuri, in a weird way, I see what you're saying, but also no.
Well, this is a problem.
Suzuha was staring up at the ceiling.
It's not your fault, Suzuha. It's Okurin's.
What the It's your fault for not telling me about her earlier.
There wasn't time.
Well, then...
And anyway, you were mumbling into your smartphone back there. What were you doing?
I was, well...
You were talking to someone, weren't you?
I got this new app and I was trying it out.
Oh, a girl game one. So you've gotten into those, huh? I can give you my list of recommended apps later then.
Thank you, Daru. That's exactly what it is. I guess I'd managed to fool them about Amadeus.
In any event, it was my screw-up. I'm sorry for scaring you.
The one thing that's weird about this is everybody finding it weird that Okabe is talking into his phone. That's was his thing for his entire life until a couple months ago.
Remember, he's dropped the Chuny Act for a while now.
Yeah, but it still is kind of weird that people would find it strange that he started again.
Yeah, especially given that there's already a rumor going about that, or at least Mayuri is spreading a rumor that he has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So...
Maybe that's why, because people want to know, who's he talking to?
Yeah, maybe they know what's going... They have some idea and they're like, oh, is that her?
Yeah.
Why do you need to hide from her anyway? You already told her you're Daru's sister. Hiding just makes you look more suspicious. Suzuha tried to avoid Yuki to begin with. Just meeting her father was enough to potentially cause a time paradox, she said. And that chance went up even more if she met her mother. But Yuki had found her before long, and Suzuha had been forced to say she was Daru's little sister. Yuki believed it, so why make things any more complicated?
Sure, okay, but Mom wants to be friends with me more than I thought she would. If I talk to her too much, I might slip up.
Really? You're worried about you slipping up and not Daru? If you see someone who's just like you either hate them or take an interest in them, I bet. And Yuki Amane was the latter.
It would be so much easier if she just hated me.
You could tell her, or maybe not. Right now, only a few people knew that Suzuha was a time traveler. Myself, Daru, Mayuri, and Ferris. That was all. And Ferris was only brought into the loop because she has the money to keep the Radicon closed. Right. That I don't know if they ever explain it in this. If they've explained it in this game, but she's the one providing the funding to keep the part of the building that has the time machine in it closed off from the public.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why she's in the loop. And Daru and Mayuri were there when it happened, so.
Wait, do we have to explain anything at all?
Huh?
Amaneshi isn't really the type to pry. You should know that, right, Suzuha?
I mean, you're right. She wasn't like that in the future, so...
Then what's the problem? When the time comes, I'll explain it to her.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Fine, I'll leave it to you.
Suzuha nodded.
So, from now on, you can stop trying to avoid Amaneshi.
I don't know if I can just do that without screwing up.
It'll be fine.
I don't know if you're one to talk, though.
Huh?
Look at how awkward you were with her.
I'm not the problem here.
I mean, manifestly, Daru isn't the problem. Something about Daru is what she fell in love with, right? So, trying to be someone else, Daru, is just gonna make it worse on you. Okay, we just gonna... Alright. And then the conversation came to a halt, which meant we started thinking about the voices coming from the shower room.
And so?
Daru opened his mouth. Perhaps he couldn't take it anymore.
Can I go watch Nico live streaming? There's a Bloodtoon stream on now.
Yo, Bloodtoon! Featuring Sarah.
Yeah.
There's your very explicit callback to Chaos Head.
Fuck, I forgot Sarah from Bloodtoon's catchphrase.
I forgot it too. I started playing Chaos Head and Chaos Child just got released on Switch this year in modern consoles. I'd started playing it, but partway through, and it was good. Partway through, some folks in the Discord server were like, hey, just so you know, this cuts out a lot of stuff that's like integral to the game experience. And I'm like, oh, shit. So
Interesting.
So I kind of put it on the back burner. Now I'm waiting to get the digital version so I can get the community mod installed for it that restores a bunch of the stuff that's missing.
Huh.
Yeah. Fun little fact for you. But I do plan on playing it at some point.
You're going to do it even if I tell you no, right?
Yep.
Just go ahead.
Suzuha sighed, and Daru sat in front of the PC and put his headphones on.
What is it, Uncle?
I was just thinking about how well you got along with your dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Daru was like this in the future, wasn't he?
He was thinner and cooler.
I can't even imagine. Ugh. And the conversation died again. There were a ton of things I needed to talk to Suzuha about, but that was why I couldn't say a word. Maybe it was the same for her. Since there was nothing else to do, Suzuha and I turned back to the TV. The news was still on. You know, as far as, like, things could have gone between them there, that wasn't too terrible,
Yeah.
all things concerned.
Unfortunately, every time Suzuha's new sprite on this shows up on screen, all I can think of is Suzuha picking herself up by the hair handles and lifting herself into the sky.
Or someone doing like a saddle routine. No, because they look like rings, gymnastics rings,
Yeah.
hanging from the ceiling. That's what they look like. You were the newscaster, right?
The opening event for the French fashion brand Le Paradis was held in Ginza this morning.
Look at that. You're still up on your French. Good job.
I am not up on my French. I don't know shit about French.
Why is the newscaster saying that?
It's quite unclear.
As the newscaster spoke, I could see over 100 women lined up in front of a store.
It's so peaceful, isn't it? By the time I was old enough to remember anything, this was all gone.
On the TV, a girl in a pretty outfit was talking to an interviewer.
I'm kind of jealous, honestly. They don't have to kill anyone, and no one's going to kill them. In the world I grew up in, you had to kill without mercy. No matter if they were a man or a woman, your life could end at any moment, and that terror was with you every second of every day. The only way to forget that terror was to give yourself over to the madness and become one of the killers.
That was war. That was Suzuha's life. I'd been to many nightmarish world lines, but none of them were that bad.
AU where Suzuha is just from Cincinnati, but the dialogue remains the same.
Or even worse, Cleveland.
My dad's work on the time machine got him branded a rebel.
Daru had made the time machine that brought Suzuha here. It was far more powerful than the one that existed in the Alpha world line.
I left the military to go ahead on my line before I could read it, to join him and his group, and the police peacekeeping squads came after me. The battles after that were worse, and there were a lot of them. I don't want to use the phrase fighting the good fight, but I killed a lot of people. And I lost many of my friends and comrades. One of them was my mother.
Dara was still staring at the computer screen, but I could see him twitch.
I thought he was on Nico Nico,
Shh, stop it.
not Twitch.
Isn't it Justin back in 2010? Is it?
Yeah, it was Justin.tv once upon a time.
I wasn't even around in 2010?
I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't know either. He must have been listening to Suzuha while he pretended to look at the screen.
She tried to protect me from one of the army's drones, and she was gunned down.
This was the first time I'd heard about how Yuki Amane died. She was in the next room right now, having fun in the shower, and that was how she was going to die?
I saw her ripped apart with my own eyes. Her warm blood splattered all over me.
The reason Suzuha didn't want to talk to her mother in 2010 was that she didn't want her asking about the future. There was no way Suzuha could tell her that.
Listen, Uncle Ocarine.
At some point, Suzuha's eyes had started to overflow with tears.
This world can only go to one place. Hell. It doesn't have to be right now. There's still a little time, I think. But please, just think about it again. Please. Please.
I knew it. In my mind, I knew it. The right thing to do was to do as she asked. But
I don't want to die.
the sensation I felt when the knife slipped into her flesh, and I took the life of the girl I loved, went from my hand to my arm, and then to the rest of my body, and I started shaking. My vision blurred and then almost went black. My hands went to my mouth. There was a wave of pain, like my stomach was turning inside out.
Uncle?
Are you okay, Ocarine?
Yeah. Sorry. Suzuha poured me a cup of water and I gulped it down.
I'm sorry. It was too early to talk about all this.
No, it's nothing. I'm fine. I sank into the sofa and tried to calm down. I know what you want to say and I know how you feel, but I've gone through so many world lines. I've seen people in the other world lines have their fates toyed with by the time machine. I looked straight into Suzuha's eyes. I've seen your own tragic end. I've realized that I'm powerless to do anything about it. Humanity was powerless before the laws of this world. Using the time machine to change world lines means breaking the rules of the universe. It's not the province of humanity. You could say it's the province of God. If we try, we'll suffer from an even more horrible punishment. That's what I think.
Is that your answer, Uncle Ocarine?
For now, if nothing else.
I see.
Feel free to tell me I'm just running away.
No, I won't do that.
Suzuha looked up at the ceiling and sighed. That must have been a habit she picked up lately.
And now, our next top story. The Ministry of Health announced that there have been no reported cases in Japan of the new form of encephalitis that is ravaging America. But this new virus has a long incubation period, and they cannot deny the possibility that it has already arrived in Japan. The ministry has ordered all medical organizations in the country to draw up treatment plans and investigate the virus's spread.
Yeah, totally believable plotline that a pandemic raged through America.
We're here with Soko Haruyama of Ochanomizu Medical University. So, Ms. Haruyama, what sort of symptoms does this new encephalitis cause?
The new virus does not spread easily, but it has a long incubation period and appears without warning. The main symptoms are hallucinations and memory problems. For example, you'd think you were at work and suddenly you find yourself at home, or you have the memories of meeting someone you've never met. There have been reports of that. Also, memories can be confused. You might have memories of events that never occurred. You lose the ability to tell the difference between dreams and reality, or perhaps your sense of passage of time. In some cases, your memories will no longer match those of the people around you. You could describe it as similar to deja vu, or even the feeling you get when you're only half awake, but the symptoms are far more pronounced than that.
Interesting. So it seems like someone is running time machines in the US and people are getting reading Steiner.
Yeah, it seems like someone's running worldline experimentation.
Yep.
Because that what that sounds like is reading everyone's passive reading Steiner.
Yep.
Which, remember, manifests basically as like dreams or vague memories.
Or in this case, it seems like not dreams or vague memories, the full experience, people straight up consciously finding themselves transported to a different place with memories of another world, like Okabe has.
You gotta wonder if there's anyone else out there like Okabe, like straight up.
Sounds like these people who are in hospitals for it.
I don't know if it means that they're straight up like have reading Steiner or just have some of those memories left over and can't. Because remember, if you prod people in a certain way, they can recall memories from other world lines, like what happened to Ferris to help her in the first game, to help Ferris remember the world without her dad in it, right? By bringing her to May Queen. But so I don't know if it necessarily means that they definitely all have the same level of perfect reading Steiner as Okabe does, where he's got like perfect clarity and awareness whenever that happens, or if it's just, oh, you've suddenly got memories you don't, but are otherwise, fine. But who knows? It certainly sounds like there might be people out there. Be people out there is what I said. Great.
What about treatment methods?
Unlike other forms of encephalitis, we know that with proper treatment, a full recovery is possible. So even if we do see some cases in Japan, it's not a matter for serious concern.
The reporter was still talking, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. The information I just heard was that shocking. A new kind of encephalitis? I knew the symptoms she was describing. Losing the ability to discriminate between dreams and reality. Losing your sense of the passage of time. Your memories no longer match those of the people around you. That was exactly the same as reading Steiner.
Title drop.
Is that a title drop?
No, it's not.
You can't just say title drop whenever. Hey, 1975! Funny that.
Okay, so this is before the Bee Gees concert. Because Kagari is still here.
Why are you like this? Was I Kagari?
I don't remember.
Am I gonna have another? Right, I was Kagari because it's important that she has a very distinctively different voice from. The interior of the time machine smelled like metal and was covered in instruments of different sizes. The girl inside was sobbing. It had been almost an hour since Suzuha had left to go look around. She'd assumed that Kagari would have stopped crying by then, but she'd had no such luck.
How long are you going to keep crying? You need to get it together. Think about how Big Sis Mayu felt.
Kagari Shina looked up at Suzuha, her face wet with tears.
Mommy? So don't cry. It's annoying.
But I...
Suzuha walked over to Kagari and knelt down so they'd be at eye level. She had no intention of spoiling her. Her goal was to save billions of lives, and this was her first mission.
Listen, from now on, I'm treating you as a member of Valkyrie. You work for me, and you're not a civilian. This is the year 1975. Nobody we know is alive here. Dad and Big Sis Mayu haven't even been born yet. In other words, there's no one to protect us.
In terms of science adventure characters, who would be alive now? Maho was born in 89. What about Leskinen? I don't remember how much older he is. He's like 40s, right? Leskinen is probably a baby right now. That is probably either that. He might conceivably be alive. That's the only one I can think. It'd have to be someone who was like much further into adulthood than any of the lab mems.
How does the lab get their... Sorry, how does Mr. Braun get his hands on the building in this timeline?
I don't know if we know yet.
Because I know that in the other world line, it's because of Suzuha.
Yep,
Suzuha. Who was around and a landlord owning this building.
We'll forgive her for in that one. When you're trying to secure a particular building for the sake of we'll forgive her for being a landlord in this one narrow instance.
But
if
it
you
seems
can prove
like
that owning this building means averting World War III, I'll give you a pass.
But it seems like that's not the path we're on now, given that she has just popped over here.
Mm-hmm.
And unless, I guess, if she later still pops back to the 70s
Which doesn't
and arranges
seem
for
like
the
something
building.
she'll do. I don't know, but it seems like we don't know what we know that Kaguri isn't supposed to be here. I guess that's all we really know.
The only one who can protect you is yourself. You got it?
There we go. We see how the braids work.
Yeah, so they tie back into a little ponytail thing in the back there. Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes more visual sense, but it's still confusing in the regular sprites.
Kaguri was a brave girl, and she finally realized that now wasn't the time for tears. She tried to stop her crying. It wasn't working well, but it was a lot better for her emotions than sobbing. She was a smart girl. Suzuha knew that.
There's not a lot of time. If someone from this era finds the time machine, it'll cause a big commotion.
The machine had landed on the roof of the radio building, which wasn't a spot that people visited often. Chances of anyone finding it were slim. But in this era, they had no one to help them conceal it. That meant they couldn't stay long. She needed to finish her mission quickly and move to the next time period.
If something goes wrong, can we just use the time machine to come back?
There's not enough fuel. We can't jump an infinite number of times. It won't work when it really counts. If it won't work when it really counts, then this is all for nothing.
I see.
Can you stand up?
Suzuha stepped out of the machine and beckoned to Kaguri. Is this her first time getting Kaguri's sprite?
Yeah.
Tiny little sad Kurisu! Look at how sad she is! Oh, she's just miserable!
Huh?
Kaguri looked surprised. Her eyes were narrowed at the bright sunlight. The sky above Tokyo in this time period was too dirty to be called blue. Smoke and dust clouds filled with who knows what were rising from rows of smokestacks. It all combined with black exhaust from the cars that scurried along the ground to create a smog so thick you could literally see it. The sky above the city was covered by a veil of death. But still, it was the first clear sky that Kaguri had ever seen. She'd only ever known from books and videos that the sky could be this bright. The nuclear weapons used during the Third World War had changed the weather over Tokyo, and their sky was constantly covered in dull gray clouds. The sun's light was always weak when it shone through them, and it was never this bright.
When I was a kid, the sky was still like this. I don't remember much, but I remember a little.
Suzuha looked up at the sky, too.
The air is so clean.
In 2036, you needed a filter and a mask to go outside for any length of time. Compared to that, 1975 was a lot cleaner.
Now you understand why everyone was willing to risk it all to change the world line, right, Kaguri? The world lines, history, you can worry about that stuff later. For now, just focus on protecting this sky.
Kaguri slipped her hand into her pocket and took out the faded green Upa keychain. She stared at it with a sad look on her face. She was probably thinking about Mayuri, her mother. And she was probably trying to understand what it meant that her mother had put her inside the time machine. Suzuha decided that Kaguri was all right now and closed the hatch on the time machine from the outside. The lock flipped on automatically. The only person who could open it now was Suzuha, whose biometrics had been loaded into the system ahead of time. Even if someone did find the machine, it would be a while before they found out what it was. Kagari, come look at this. Ah! Suzuha handed her a printout of a photo.
What is this?
It's a retro PC called the IBM 5100.
Right. That makes sense.
None of the ones in our time still worked, but here we should be able to find a working one. Our first mission is to split up and find it.
Yeah, okay.
We can communicate with this.
She handed Kagari a small transceiver.
I was told it doesn't have a very long range, so don't expect too much from it.
Okie dokie.
We'll meet in front of this building every 90 minutes for a status report. You got it?
Okie dokie.
Good answer.
Suzuha nodded and petted Kagari on the head. Pat, pat.
Okay, let's get started.
How Not to Raise a Traumatized Child, starring Suzuha Amane.
I mean, she's not really raising Kagari.
She is now.
She is now. Suzuha was on the rooftop of the radio building in 2010, looking down.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman. 35 years, huh?
That's how long ago it had been in real time since she'd spoken to Kagari here. From her perspective, it had only been a few months. The view from up here had changed a lot since then. And then the next 26 years, it would change even more. She'd seen for herself how this building changed over a span of 61 years. The thought didn't make her feel sentimental. Instead, she felt the loneliness and fear that comes from having a past not shared with anyone else. Using the time machine to change the world lines means breaking the rules of the universe. Rintaro Okabe's words flashed through her mind. Look at how miserable he looks. Still, lately she'd been thinking more about Kagari. She'd been searching the city at regular intervals. So she lost Kagari at some point. She was looking for Kagari Shina. She didn't even know if she was in Tokyo. She had no clue. She didn't even know what Kagari looked like now. So maybe it was a waste of time. Even so, she had to find Kagari herself. But she hadn't had any better luck today. She turned around and looked toward the time machine. She would come here every day. Her primary reason for coming was to see if her father, Itaru Hashida, had been here. Anytime she let her guard down, he would come to try and examine it. She told him it would cause a time paradox, but he didn't listen. She needed to keep constant watch. To be honest, she had a lot of things she had to do. And then she heard the metal door to the roof open. Was it her dad? She squinted into the darkness, but the person she saw was much smaller than Itaru and had cat ears coming out of their head. God damn it!
We've somehow switched from Steins Gate originally being the game where you just voice Okabe and I voice practically fucking everyone to the game where you just talk to yourself. But I'm okay with that.
I don't know how we got here.
Yeah, it's a mystery.
Did such a good job.
Nyan, there you are. Susan Nyan, good evening. Don't you remember all those weird stories we got together in Linear Bounded Phonogram? The people want their Suzu Ferris content.
Oh, it's you, Big Sis Rumi.
Oh, she's got a tail, too. Ferris Nyan had a spring in her step as she approached Suzuha.
Who's Rumi Nyan? I'm Ferris Nya.
Your Big Sis Rumi is who you are.
Ferris's real name was Rumiho Akiha. She was Daru's friend and had helped them in many different ways in 2036.
Oh.
Oh, what?
She's still around in 2036 helping the rebellion and so on.
Yeah, I guess that's our first confirmation that Ferris is still around. I mean, also the fact that Suzuha calls her Rumi.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's not something she picked up in this time period. But yeah, that's pretty explicit confirmation. So Suzuha had known her ever since she was very young, and I'd always call her Big Sis Rumi. For whatever reason, in this era, she always wanted to be called Ferris, though. When Suzuha asked why, she simply responded,
Ferris is Ferris, nya.
An answer which meant nothing to Suzuha.
Nobody was in the lab, so I thought you might be here, nya. Guess I was right. Here, I brought you a snack. It's leftovers, though.
Ferris showed her a cake box with the logo from the maid cafe where she worked, May Queen plus Neon Squared.
I'm glad Dad wasn't at the lab.
If he ate something like that at this hour, he'd get even fatter.
It's not for Daru and Yan, it's for you. Or I'm sorry, should I say for Mew?
For me? Why?
You know you love it.
Ferris grinned and nudged Suzuha in the side with her elbow.
Nya. Nya. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I don't.
There's an apple tart, a Mont Blanc, and a piece of strawberry shortcake, too.
Ah.
See? Doesn't it look good, nya?
Ferris opened up the box and showed her what was inside. Suzuha could smell the sweet cream and fruit.
Ah.
Come on, eat up, nya. Don't worry about a thing.
Ah.
Nya, open wide. I'll feed it right into your cute little meowth.
I'll put it in there. I'll put it in the fridge for tomorrow.
Nya, you're such a stoic, Susan Yan.
Ferris laughed and handed over the box.
They expire tomorrow, so make sure you eat up before they do, nya.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Work so hard for these. Work really hard for these. Ferris gave her a mischievous wink and looked up at the time machine beside them.
How's Darunyan's time machine research going?
He's working hard, I guess. Big Sis Rumi, is it okay to leave this machine here? There are buildings literally across the street that can, look at this without being at ground level.
Suzuha looked around the roof as she asked. It was solely thanks to Ferris that no one had really noticed the massive object on the roof. She was the heir to a rich family that had a lot of influence in the area and had contributed a lot to the development of Akihabara. She was helping to hide the time machine.
Yep. I rented out this whole floor, or roof, I guess. It's fine, yeah? I told the owner we're developing a VR game. It's not the best excuse in the world, but it works.
It's a huge help.
Don't worry about it. I'm always ready to help you save the world's elementals from the Byaki, yeah?
Right. Okay. Since many years ago, well, I guess many years in the future, I've been wondering, but sometimes what you say is really hard to understand. What language is that?
Don't think, nya. Feel.
So she not only is she still around in 2036, she's still exactly like this.
Yep. Wonderful.
Oh, come on.
It's so cold. I think I'm gonna go home, nya.
In the end, she never could get an answer. To Suzuha, Ferris was always a great mystery. I don't know. These two really... I'm glad that we're getting more of these two in this game, because Linear Bounded Pentagram really did show that these two have a lot of good, on-screen chemistry with one another. There's a lot of very untapped character potential with getting these two on screen, so...
I'll walk you home. Let's go together.
Meow? Then you could have dinner at my place, too.
That wasn't what I meant.
You never eat any real food, do you? Mew. Whenever I see how stoic you are, I always feel like I have to do something, nya. Like a protective motherly feeling. It stirs something like that within me.
Oh, I'm just fine.
Before she finished her sentence, she felt someone looking at her. She glanced around.
Meow? What is it?
Shh. She listened carefully. She definitely heard a very faint sound from the direction of the metal door that led to the stairs. It was small enough that Suzuha was only able to notice it because of her training.
Someone is there.
Meow, meow?
They probably heard us. Most of the discussion was worthless, but they talked about the time machine a little, as someone heard that. Ha! Suzuha yanked her gun out of her jacket and in an instant ran toward the stairs as fast as she could. She heard someone running down the stairs as soon as she did. The sound, heavy military boots and a wide stride, got farther and farther away. They're fast! She opened up the door and jumped onto the landing. Then she raced down the stairs, skipping 3 steps with every stride. But still, it wasn't fast enough. Suzuha was born fast, and she'd been trained to be faster, but it wasn't enough. When she finally made it to the 2nd floor, she could hear the loud revving of a motorcycle. Oh no! She panicked and slipped on an object that had been left a hallway up the stairs and rolled her way to the bottom. She managed to get into the right position and protect her head, so it was her hips that stuck the ground. Ah! She forced herself to stand up and run outside. She could see the taillights of a large motorcycle speeding away. The driver was wearing a black helmet and her riding suit, and already a good distance away, so she couldn't even tell if they were a man or a woman. They revved their engine loudly as if to mock her, and spun a corner and disappeared onto Center Street.
Suzunyan!
A little later, Ferris caught up.
Are you okay, Nya?
They got away!
Should put that away, Nya.
Oh, right. She put the gun in her hands back in her jacket holster, and brushed away her hair that sweat had stuck to her brow.
Who was that, Nya?
I don't know, but they weren't a civilian. They'd been trained.
Trained?
Was there anything on the stairs?
A bag, Nya.
It was right where I couldn't see it. They probably dropped it deliberately, and they revved their engine right when I was coming by it. I fell for it.
You mean that was a trap, Nya?
Only someone with special training could do that on a moment's notice. Literally no one else could. Suzuha glared in the direction the bike disappeared and started to think. Who was it? CERN? There was an unofficial CERN group, the Rounders, that were searching for the IBN 5100s in Akihabara. Rintaro Okabe had told her about that, but he'd only encountered them in another worldline. I don't know who that was, but it's clear that someone other than us knows about the time machine. Is it that they knew about it, but weren't going to do anything more? Or did they intend to steal the time machine from her? Since she didn't know, she had to assume the worst, or she wouldn't be prepared to deal with it. She looked up to the sky and sighed. It was becoming a bad habit. Hey, Big Sis Rumi. Don't tell Uncle Ocarine and the others, alright?
Nya? Why?
If Uncle Ocarine knew about it, he might say it was too dangerous and that we had to destroy it. You know?
Yeah, it's true, but...
I'm going to protect the time machine no matter what. I need to take Uncle Ocarine to the entrance to Steins Gate. That was the promise I made to my dad, and to all the people who sent me here.
Suzunyan? Alright, Nya. In exchange, just make sure you tell Darunyan.
Okie dokie. The last part was almost a whisper as her words melted into Akihabara's sky. Someone that can outrun Suzuha is not... That's not trivial. That's a... Because Suzuha, remember, is trained for years and years to do that. So that's someone with some amount of ability. Maho Hyajo was fidgeting. She knew exactly why, but she still didn't want to admit it. You alright over there?
Yeah. Maho, are you ready?
Huh? Yeah, I'm good.
She awkwardly stood up from the chair as Dr. Leskinen spoke to her.
What?
I had thought you'd put some more effort into it, but I guess not.
Huh?
Dr. Leskinen stared at her for a moment and then spoke. It was obvious he was referring to her outfit.
I'm not going to a party like I was last time.
You wore your lab coat to that, too.
That was because I forgot my clothes.
That's right.
Ugh.
Dr. Leskinen was wearing his translator all the time these days. In fact, he had actually told Maho to talk to him in Japanese.
Now then, I can't wait to see what kind of relationship Rintaro and Kurisu have established.
Maho and Dr. Leskinen were about to head into Tokyo proper. There, they were to meet Rintaro Okabe. It had been 2 weeks since they'd first asked him to test Amadeus. It was time for the first report. Of course, that was the reason Maho was fidgeting. She was nervous to meet Okabe. No, to see Kurisu for the first time in quite a while. Of course, Maho was able to talk to Kurisu anytime she wanted, but since she'd asked Okabe to be a tester, she tried to avoid doing so as much as possible. She didn't want her conversations to add any extra noise.
Professor, before we leave, can I ask you something?
Whatever you like.
Why Okabe?
Maho had wanted to ask Dr. Leskinen that for a long time. If she was going to ask it, though, now was the time. Dr. Leskinen thought for a minute.
Are you jealous, Maho?
What? I'm...
She felt heat flush her face. In other words, he was right. Yeah, she was jealous of Okabe. Not that she wanted to admit it.
To be honest, it bothers me. There are other people who could be her conversation partners.
You, for instance?
I'm not saying that. I'm too close to Kurisu and Amadeus.
Rintaro is a good guy.
If you really believe that, then you're naive. It's impossible to really understand someone after only meeting them once. What if he secretly sells Amadeus to another lab? Even if he doesn't plan to at first, he might change his mind if they showed him enough money. That's human nature.
Let's say Rintaro did sell Amadeus. What would happen then? Would whoever got her access rights be able to become friends with Kurisu and take over Amadeus?
Well, I mean...
Maho asked herself the same question and then realized the chance was almost zero.
That would be impossible.
Yes, it's impossible. Because if that ever happened, Kurisu would refuse to talk to them. In that sense, Amadeus is a very difficult system. It doesn't do what you want it to. Of course, it is possible that Amadeus could be persuaded. But you could say that's why I chose you and Kurisu as its models.
Dr. Leskinen gave her a mischievous wink.
Both Kurisu and I have difficult personalities. It would be hard to persuade us to do anything.
She knew he was teasing her, so she decided to say it.
Indeed, you two are truly merciless. And that is the best security I could get.
That sounds like an insult.
You two are the finest ladies our institution has to offer.
Dr. Leskinen laughed happily. He always had her childlike innocence about him.
Either way, the Amadeus AI is a tricky thing. You could say that's what makes it interesting. Keeping them to ourselves won't bring us any progress, will it? I'd been thinking about how I wanted to find a catalyst that could prompt Amadeus to really evolve. And I wanted it to be someone who didn't have anything to do with the research. Rintaro is smart, and I think he's a good choice. He's also a friend of Kurisu's. Anyway, why not see what he says today before you decide? First, let's see how Kurisu has changed since she started spending time with Rintaro. We may see a side of her that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
That was what was making her nervous. If Kurisu changed into someone she didn't know, that would make her sad.
It's time. Let's go.
Maho nodded. Get out of there, mouse. Oh, hey, we're back with the dopey, depressed guy again. Oh, we're here. This'll be fun. Mentally bracing myself. I walked onto the grounds of Yanabayashi Shrine and quietly took a look around. But not after testing my phone first to see if we had any. The thing is that sometimes in the, in Steins Gate, we would sometimes get conversations that showed up after we came back that we didn't, weren't shown directly to us, but were added to the phone's history. It doesn't seem like that'll be the same case here, but, I feel like it's worth checking.
you know?
Well, we checked and it seems like it doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, look at Okabe's contact. He doesn't even have his parents in here. Wow. Rude, Okabe. Rude. Several cats were sunbathing beneath the cold winter sky, but there was no sign of anyone else. Lukako wasn't back from school yet. Okay, I could talk to Kurisu without anyone staring at me here. Supposed to meet with Dr. Leskinen and Maho after this. Before that happened, I wanted to confirm something with Kurisu. Telling me to... No? I decided to start the app. Oh, okay. See? I'm not wrong. It will just prompt us like that.
Hello.
We need to talk.
You're meeting with the professor and Maho after this, right? Is that what this is about?
Well, yes.
Is there any reason to be nervous? Basically, you're turning over the logs, and then they'll ask you about some quick impression. Then they'll ask you some quick questions about your impression of me.
That's it. The logs. That's what I wanted to talk about. Have all of our conversations been recorded?
I told you that when we started, right? I keep logs in a place where nobody but me can access them. Were you not listening?
And you're going to submit them to the professor and Hiajo?
Probably.
Which means that if I say anything personal to you, Dr. Leskinen and Maho will hear it.
You're realizing this now?
Yeah, it was a little late. Kurisu and I had been talking for 2 weeks. I should have asked about this when I got the access key to Amadeus. I just realized it today is all. Have I told you anything I shouldn't have so far?
Like the fact that you were barely able to talk to any girls at the matchmaking party? Or the fact that your family sells vegetables, but you hate eggplants?
What's wrong with that one? I don't hate eggplants, I'm just not very good at eating them.
That's much funnier. That's much funnier.
In a modern context? Yeah, it kind of is.
He doesn't hate them. He just gets one on his plate and just goes blank.
Just stare.
And then time stops. And then his consciousness resumes 15 minutes later with eggplant all over the walls.
No one knows what's happened. But somehow, some way, Okabe was activated. Yeah, that's also the second indication, not the second, but another reminder that the Okabe family are grocers.
Yep.
Doesn't really come up that often, but there you go. That's what Rintaro's parents do. That was all. I didn't really care.
Or the fact that the first time we talked, you called me Christina.
Okay, but Maho knows that. Ugh. Please forget about that.
Human memories are ambiguous, and as time passes, they become more subjective and tend to be compressed into a single narrative. Regardless of whether the memory is a good or a bad one, it's common to only be able to remember words that left an impression, and that impression will often alter your memories of the surrounding conversation.
Huh? What was she talking about?
I'm not saying that's a bad thing, that's just how human memories work. But Amadeus isn't a human, it's an incomplete AI, still in the research stage. This is a big problem for Maho and the professor, but actually, Amadeus still can't perfectly replicate the ambiguity of human memories.
Huh.
In other words, it can't completely replicate the high-level brain function that is forgetting.
Huh, but at the ATF seminar, Dr. Leskinen said that Amadeus would forget unneeded information.
Yes, I do forget things, but remember what I said? I record things in a log, like it's my secret diary. So in the end, all the information is still kept there. And if I load that, all the data I should have forgotten will come flooding back to me. Okay?
In other words, asking her to forget was a waste of time?
Another plan would be to delete my logs, but those are my backups, so that's not happening. Even if I could delete one area, the result would be the same. I would analyze the surrounding conversation and automatically reconstruct the missing portion. If you want to alter my memories, you'd have to mess with the primary program.
Why does it sound threatening when you're explaining to me how to mess with your programming? How did you make that sound like a threat? I didn't have that level of access, and I didn't understand how the program worked at all. So basically, until I told Kurisu why I called her Christina, she was going to keep asking. What a pain.
So, why Christina?
Happy Kurisu face. You really don't give up, do you? I'll hang up right now if I have to.
Even if you run, as I've just explained, I won't forget. The more you try to change the subject, the more interested I get, you know? Or is this a ploy to get me to pay attention to you?
You're the one who wants attention. You call me in the middle of my university lectures. And not only that, you message me all the time on Rhine.
Oh no, they've hooked up their AI to fucking text.
Oh no! So she's almost assured. Have we confirmed yet whether or not she's on that channel as well?
She must
She must be.
Actually, I feel like that came up. Did it? Or did
I
we
feel
just
like
make
I
that
brought
up?
it up once. Like, it would be hellish if Okabe, if Curry Gohan and Kamehameha was still posting on that channel after Kurisu died, and how much that would fuck Okabe up. But then I realized Amadeus was alive at the same time Kurisu was for a non-trivial amount of time. If she was on that channel, she'd have her own profile. So. You've got too much curiosity. If you keep poking your head into things one of these days, you're going to regret it.
A scientist can't function if they're not curious.
She got mad at me. If you're that interested in why I call you Christina, why not come up with a theory yourself?
I have a few, actually. Listen to these.
Oh no. She's really into this.
Theory 1. You've got a crush on a Hollywood actress named Christina.
You think you've got the looks of a Hollywood actress?
Looks don't matter. It's like how you feel a closeness to someone with the same name.
So this is what you're saying, in other words. Rintaro Okabe feels close to me.
It's just an example. Don't try to read too deep into it.
It's a joke. Also, this game, we kind of brushed over, but this game made explicit that Okabe loved Kurisu.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I know there's like a lot of tension and like there are definitely the trappings of a harem game in Steins Gate original.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately. Whenever I talked to Kurisu, I always wanted to tease her. I needed to watch out. Oh no, don't tease the tsundere, Okabe.
Theory 2. You once dated a foreign girl named Christina. Given your terrible English ability, this one is out of the question, huh?
Well, it's possible I dated a blonde babe who also spoke fluent Japanese, isn't it?
Did you? Silence is an admission of defeat.
Fuck. Sorry, Jesus.
Theory 3. You knew the original me and called her that either directly or indirectly.
Ugh.
This is also unlikely. If you called me that, I know what I'd say.
Oh?
Stop adding Tina.
Yeah, that was exactly right. That's exactly what Kurisu said. But I didn't stop because I was embarrassed. The genius named Kurisu Makise was a person I always wanted to be.
What do you mean?
I couldn't bring myself to say her name, so I came up with a nickname to hide my embarrassment.
Embarrassment?
Yeah. Not just with the original either. It happens when I'm talking with you as well.
Me?
I mean, I've never talked to a girl inside a monitor before.
What? Well, thank you.
Huh? Why are you blushing?
I am not. I just didn't expect that you'd treat me like a girl. It surprised me a little.
So, I don't know how to tell you this, but the people at Drinkworks or whatever, they gave you really obvious blush stickers.
Fuck. 1 second, let me fire up the Python console.
Does Amadeus run on Python?
Absolutely. Everything in machine learning is powered by Python.
Fair enough. Even that reaction was just like Kurisu.
Amadeus is definitely just one overly convoluted million-line Jupyter notebook.
Wait, hold on. What did we just say before, huh? That part of you I really Ugh. I shuddered. What was I about to say? This was a 3D model on a screen. A tiny collection of zeros and ones in the shape of a human. What was I about to say to her?
Hey, can I ask you something? We knew each other, didn't we? I mean, you and the original me. If you don't want to tell me, that's fine, but what was our relationship? I'm kind of curious. Did I not get mad when you called me Christina? Or did I get mad but then laugh and forgive you?
I
don't want to die.
I was hit with a violent urge to throw up. I could see Kurisu in front of me covered in blood. She was looking at me, her eyes cold.
You killed me.
What's wrong? Hey, you've gone pale.
I touched the smartphone and ended the call. And then I became too dizzy to stand. I tried to throw up, but nothing came out. My hands were shaking. That's right, I can't change reality. But here I was trying to talk to Kurisu like nothing had happened. I was treating her like the real Kurisu and trying to avert my eyes from what I'd done. Just clinging to Kurisu. This was wrong. I shouldn't talk to Kurisu anymore. The call was from Kurisu.
All right.
Unfortunately for Okabe, we're in control of his smartphone, so... What is it?
You know exactly what it is. It's rude to just hang up. Is something wrong?
Clearly! Nothing.
But you look so pale.
It's nothing, really. Leave me alone. It would help me a lot if you wouldn't talk to me for a little while.
Don't push yourself too hard. Contact somebody you know, okay?
That's really good advice, actually.
Bye.
Bye. Kurisu gave up easier than I expected. Maybe she realized that as an artificial intelligence, there was nothing she could do. Realized? Making her sound like a real person. And the second that thought crossed my mind, I almost saw an image of a bloody hand. I gritted my teeth and waited for it to pass. I should really turn my smartphone off until I've calmed down a little. Oh!
Interesting.
Huh.
Are we gonna turn it off or no?
You know, I really should have checked Kiri Basara first to see whether or not it was optimal to play this with a guide first. Not if we want Maximal Amadeus.
Yeah, okay, let's leave the phone on.
I was fine just a moment ago, but now even hearing Kursu's voice was enough to send me into a panic. I'd gone back to where I was half a year ago. Back then, even hearing Kursu's name was enough to make me dizzy. I shouldn't have messed with this. Shouldn't have tried to chase Kurisu's shadow. For now, I should just turn off the smartphone. But in the end, I couldn't make that decision. Wow, okay. We're already having a lot of decision points really early on, aren't we? Can we call someone she told us to call someone we know, but I guess not happening.
It doesn't seem that's a mechanic.
Well, no, but I didn't know turning off the phone was a mechanic until just then.
It told us that it was, though.
And she told us to call someone. Maybe that would have worked. It was worth a try. I gulped down an entire bottle of mineral water and caught my breath. There was still a little time before my meeting. I wanted to get some air up here and recover a little bit. I looked down over the scenery below the overpass. The city was in the Christmas spirit. The atmosphere was charged with excitement. It was the exact opposite of me. I took more deep breaths. Still felt like I wanted to throw up. I was getting a headache, too. If I went to Dr. Leskinen like this, I'm sure I'd worry him. Huh? And then I realized that the two girls coming up the stairs were looking at me. I peered into the late afternoon darkness to try to make out their faces. One of them, the girl with the short haircut, waved.
I knew it. It's Okarin.
Hi there.
Oh, you're Mayuri's friends. They were Mayuri's friends and fellow cosplayers. I think their cosplay names were Kaede and Fubuki. I didn't know their real names, but which was Kaede and which was Fubuki again?
Are you okay? You don't look so good.
I'm fine. If I made them worry here and they talked to Mayuri, it would cause a big fuss. I didn't want her to worry about me if she didn't have to. I shouldn't have come back to Akihabara anyway. I'd run into people I knew just walking through town. Should have gone toward Kondo when I left the shrine.
You always look like you're hurting somehow, Okarin.
Oh, do I?
You do.
Fubuki.
And when Mayushi looks at you, she looks like she's in pain too. And when I see her looking at you, I feel like I'm gonna cry. Wait, what am I saying?
This Fubuki girl must really care about Mayuri. Felt a little better after hearing that.
Who's the girl you like?
Huh? Interrobang? The girl I like? An image of Kurisu appeared in the corner of my eye again. All right. The feeling in my hands when I took her life came back. No. Calm down.
Okarin?
I'm sorry, that was rude to ask. Okarin?
Are you really okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Kade and Fubuki were looking at me worried. I got away from them as fast as I could. X-Day Protocol. We got an achievement.
X Day a Church of the Subgenius thing?
Or Christmas Day.
Oh, it doesn't have Xmas, so X Day seemed weird.
Yeah, I guess.
That's just Christ Day.
I want to stop being a tester. When I started the conversation with that, both Dr. Leskinen and Maho looked shocked. We were meeting in a room at a luxury hotel in the heart of Tokyo. It felt like the sort of secret meeting you'd see in a spy movie, or maybe it only felt that way because the old me wasn't completely gone.
You can't just... It's irresponsible.
Maho seemed to finally understand what I meant, and her anger was clear.
Maho, calm down. Rintaro is the one helping us with this test. I'm grateful that you took up the offer at all. If you quit here, you're not being irresponsible at all. Don't worry.
Dr. Leskinen smiled and offered me his hand. I took a hold of his giant hand and shook it back, but I looked down, unable to look him in the eye. I'm so sorry.
Still, I would have liked it if you could have continued. I took a quick look at the logs, and I see you've been talking to her quite a bit. And the way Kurisu speaks to you is very different than what we hear at the laboratory. Humans are, by nature, social animals. They change their words and actions depending on the situation and who they're speaking with. We can assume that Amadeus is doing the same thing. That's why I wanted you to continue the test a little while longer. By the way, why did you decide to quit? Did talking to Amadeus become painful?
No, it's the opposite.
The opposite?
Talking to Amadeus, to Kurisu, is honestly a lot of fun. But that scares me. And then I desperately tried to explain the feelings that were welling up within me, even though I still didn't understand them myself. I told them how scared I was that I was starting to see Kurisu and Kurisu as the same person.
I thought this might put a lot of stress on you. I'm really sorry. But that reaction of yours is very interesting. In the sense that you're interacting with Amadeus from the perspective of someone who isn't a scientist. That's very valuable to me. I hope you'll forgive me for saying that. I'm a scientist to the core, you see.
No, I understand that I'm the one being selfish here. Maho hadn't said a word for a while. She was frowning and she seemed to be intently focused on studying Amadeus's logs. I didn't want her looking at me because it made me feel guilty, but...
Alright, if you want to stop being a tester, that's what will happen. But do you mind if we leave the Access program on your phone?
What?
From now on, it's up to you whether you want to talk to Amadeus or not. I'll tell Kurisu not to contact you. I don't want our relationship with you to end today. You're the first friend we've made in Japan, and also... Maho would be sad.
Professor! Ah! I will bite your arm.
She will. She's done it.
Ah!
Today, even.
All right then. But I understand. It felt like giving in, but at the same time, I didn't want to lose my relationship with Dr. Leskinen. My goal of going to Victor Condria University hadn't changed at all. And then Dr. Leskinen got a call on his smartphone.
Oh, excuse me. I have to take this. Maho, make up with Lintalo while I'm gone, okay?
Ah!
Dr. Leskinen left the room with a mischievous wink, as Maho continued to literally snarl at him. I was alone with Maho.
Ah! I'm sorry for yelling.
No,
The professor's right. We're the ones asking you a favor. Amadeus is like a sister to me. I'm more like a child. And it felt like you were throwing her away, so,
Oh, I'm sorry that I can't help you.
I think I understand how you feel. Or at least I thought I did, maybe.
Maho sighed again.
I'm no good, am I? My prefrontal cortex probably came out all screwed up when I was born. Has to be something like that, right?
Huh?
The prefrontal cortex is one of the parts of the brain that defines your personality. It also handles information filtering. When there's something you don't want to admit, it cuts out that information or deceives you as to its meaning.
I don't really understand.
In other words, it tries to hide your emotions and it tells lies. Not to other people, but to yourself. Like how I'm trying to hide how I feel behind a wall of scientific jargon right now. I think that's gotta be my prefrontal cortex doing it.
That would apply just as well to the old me, Kioma Ho'oin. It's wrong, right? It's just wrong.
It sounds so weird in the other order.
Like, I get that that's kind of like the localization standard for most things.
Yeah.
But when you've spent so much time drilling it in one particular way, then you can't go back.
Yep.
And I think it's also the other way too. Like, Yoko Taro is always going to be Yoko Taro. When I realized that, there was nothing else I could say. I think it's true for everyone.
It's worse for me, probably. Just from now on, whenever you feel like it, talk to Amadeus. It doesn't have to be for long.
I'll think about it.
Thanks.
Maho flopped back onto the sofa. Hey, can I ask you a question about Kurisu's mom?
Huh?
I happened to hear that you and the professor were talking about her at the party that one time. You said that something happened at Kurisu's house.
Oh, that.
Maho seemed to remember it quickly. She nodded.
Well, we got a call from Kurisu's mom. Someone set her house on fire.
What? Was she okay?
She said she was gone that day, so she was alright, but...
Well, that was a relief. After all that had happened, I really didn't want Kurisu's mother to have to go through any more.
Kurisu's mom seemed to really like me. She would invite me over on my off days all the time. So I'm worried. I hope she's not caught up in anything weird.
Weird? How? I noticed the way she said the phrase. A cold chill ran down my back. Okabe's knows what's going on, right? With that, he knows enough at this point. He's got to know enough because it's right before the he's put together like the connection between. It was right in the opening of this game. Yes, okay, he knows exactly. It wasn't just an arson case.
Well,
Maho seemed unsure if she should tell me. Yeah, Joe, I urged her to speak. She nodded slightly.
well, at first the local police investigated, but after that, some people saying they were with the FBI came.
The FBI?
Yeah, understand, this wasn't a case the FBI would usually be involved in. And supposedly a neighbor saw the arson. And from what she said, they didn't look like ordinary arsonists.
What do you mean?
There was more than one. She said they looked like some kind of special forces unit. Barely said a word, and once the fire started, they got right into the car and left. And now the PC's chugging for some reason, and I don't know why. Hope you're enjoying this, really big chug here.
I
don't know if this is the right word, but they looked really good at their job. And they said the fire spread really fast. Including the swimming pool. That's the hard one. People don't know that. Setting fire to it's hard, but you could do it.
Bonus points if you remember what that's a reference to. Was she trying to say that it was no ordinary arson, but the work of a professional? I couldn't laugh away the possibility. I knew for a fact there were people like that in this world.
And,
And?
the neighbor said they were speaking Russian.
Russian. The first thing that came to my mind, whether I liked it or not, was Nakabachi. Half a year ago, he'd stolen a paper about time travel from Kurisu, his own daughter, and used it to seek asylum in Russia. Did that have something to do with it?
And there's one more thing. Right after Kurisu's death, something weird happened at the lab. Someone who said they were a Japanese detective visited us with some of the local police. They said it was a joint U.S.-Japan investigation into Kurisu's death. Of course, we helped as much as we could, but a few days later, the university asked the police. And they said that no such detective had come from Japan.
So the Japanese detective was a fake.
It's not all. The local police said they never searched the lab. In other words, not only was the detective a fake, but everyone who came and said they were with the police.
We're also fakes.
After that,
Maho shook a little and wrapped her arms around herself.
started to wonder if there really was something else going on in Kurisu's death. I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, but, I think that maybe Kurisu was killed for some other reason, and whatever that reason was, it's been covered up.
Oh, motherfucker. I mean, I guess when you're put in that situation, it's hard to see a different reason why, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a whole lot of things happening around one person in particular's life that are highly inexplicable.
Well, it kind of is the reason why.
What do you mean?
She kind of does have it right that, oh yeah, Kurisu died because of...
She's right,
Yeah.
but normally, like, you don't want to go down the line of conspiratorial thinking because that it's almost literally never helpful. I was the one that killed Kurisu. The police never found out. They never would, probably. No one could prove a murder that had been committed by a time traveler, after all. The police had announced the foreign thief had snuck into the storeroom at the radio building, and Kurisu had been killed because she saw him. Supposedly, there was an international warrant out for the thief's arrest because he'd already left the country. And when I killed Kurisu, there was one other person there, Dr. Nakabachi. It was eerie that his name hadn't come up at all. Russia, CERN, the time machine. Remember the future that Suzaha, or perhaps I should say John Titor, had spoken of. She said World War III was going to start within a decade, and it would be the time machine that set it off. The EU and Russia would be in a race to develop it, and then even America would intervene. That would be the spark. Were we at the center of a chain of events that would result in the deaths of 5 billion people? Oh, we can't check our phone here, okay. I couldn't help but feel that way. Yeah, Okabe does have some really terrible luck, doesn't he?
Yep.
Kurisu won't be able to rest in peace like this. I want to know the truth.
And also, what were they getting when they were at that lab or investigating her death? The truth? I couldn't stop myself from shaking as I looked at Maho's face. You want to know the truth. That was dangerous. If she tried to learn the truth, there could be no doubt that she'd put herself in danger. The routers who came crashing through the veil of night.
poor rounder number 5, whose face we never see because he's too far off to the right of the shot.
Yep. And my childhood friend who died in my arms after being shot in the head. And after that, the nightmarish and seemingly endless time loops. All the horrors that I'd experienced in the Alpha World line came flooding back, and I fought to stifle a moan. But that's something you should leave to the police.
Do you really think so?
If nothing else, you shouldn't think you can do something about it yourself. There's just so little that one person can do. After I said that, I regretted it, but it was too late. Maho's gaze had turned to a piercing glare.
Do you know something about what happened?
My panic was about to show. I quickly covered my face with my hands. That's impossible, right?
Yeah. Sorry for being weird. Whenever Kurisu gets involved, I just can't help myself. I really liked her.
She was a really good girl and an amazing one. I liked her too.
Kurisu liking club.
I could tell by watching you.
The Kurisu liking club gets slightly bigger. Ugh. A heavy silence filled the air between us. Felt like I had to say something, but fortunately Dr. Leskinen came back just then.
The third member of the Kurisu liking club.
What? No, that's... what? That'd be creepy.
Oh, it is. And yet, you've seen how he talks to his lab
His little
mems.
Einstein. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
How about some dinner, you two?
Dinner?
Maho activated in the background there. Maho and I nodded and stood up from the sofa.
Okabe, will you tell me more about what Kurisu was like when she was here sometime?
Yeah, whenever you like. I was just barely able to smile back at Maho. I saw a dark blue van come around the corner of the underground parking lot. Its tires squealed a little. It wasn't a Japanese car, it was a station wagon that looked like a sports car from some foreign manufacturer. I didn't know a lot about cars, but supposedly if you purchased it from a dealer, it could easily go for over 8 million yen. The reason I knew all this was because the car's owner had told me over and over. The station wagon stopped in front of us, and there was a short bark from the horn. Associate Professor Izaki came out from the driver's side. While I was eating with Dr. Leskinen and Maho, he had called me about something else. When I told him I was having dinner with the two of them, he'd offered to drive us home. Dr. Leskinen had tried to refuse, but Izaki had insisted so much he had no choice but to accept. He had a pretty nice car for an associate professor. This was the cause of a lot of speculation around the college. Some said his family was rich, others that he was the wife of some CEO as a patron.
Okay, but doesn't this just look like the specific Subaru model that everyone in this state has?
It kind of does. I like how our state is like evenly divided between like station wagon and minivan country and then pickup truck country.
Yep. It's either you got the Subaru Outback or you got the Ford F-150.
Either way, you have to be able to handle the worst winters.
Yep.
He once quietly told me the truth, that he was single and spent all his money on his car, but who even knew if that was true? Do we never get a sprite of Izaki? He's come up so many times now. Like, give the man a sprite.
Sir not appearing in this story.
Sir not appearing in this story. Izaki was acting like he was a professional chauffeur, opening the rear door and escorting Dr. Leskinen and Maho. Dr. Leskinen thanked him, and Maho went around to the back to load up her luggage.
Not bad, Okabe. Looks like you've won over Dr. Leskinen.
He grinned and poked me with his elbow.
You'd better not lose this connection, you know, for your future's sake.
Right. He was a hard guy to hate, but for an associate professor, he seemed kind of shallow. It was one of the unfortunate things about him. He waved to me and opened the driver's side door. Huh? What was that sound? At the same time, I heard the strange sound. A hole appeared in the window on the front passenger side.
Ah!
Izaki screamed and fell back on his butt. The rear window exploded.
Ah!
Ah!
What the heck is going on? I panicked. Was this some kind of supernatural phenomenon? I was too confused to move. And then in the corner of my vision, I saw someone. A man I didn't know appeared out of the shadow of one of the pillars. He was holding something strange in his hand. It looked kind of like a handgun. It was tiny with a short barrel and kind of flat. I couldn't see any kind of silencer. Who is that? Remembered him from somewhere. Felt like we'd met before. Where, though? I thought, but nothing came to me immediately. Are you asking me to pull up my phone? No, okay. The man was standing there mumbling something to himself.
Woe to the world because of the things that cause people to stumble. Such things must come, but woe to the person through whom they come. If your hand or your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away.
Dude, you got some weird energy, buddy.
It is better for you to enter life maimed or crippled than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into eternal fire. And if your eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away.
What is your deal, guy?
It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into the valley of Hinnom.
There was an aura of intensity and madness about the man as he pointed his gun at us again.
Yeah, that's right. I've memorized all the weird parts of the Bible. I haven't read the normal bits. The souls God granted dwell within us, the children of God. They will never dwell within Silicon.
Oh, some weird... Is he from the Vatican? Is he
Holy shit! The Vatican...
Is he the Holy Office? Is that what's going on here?
The Vatican has come to kill the anime girl who lives on Okabe's cell phone.
She doesn't. This doesn't help anything. The app on his phone just makes a connection to the servers at Victorchondria.
It probably helps a lot if they kill the people who know how to build the thing.
Just kill the thing itself.
And
I mean, yeah, okay, that's part of it, but like... Izaki stood up and turned around and fled in terror like a startled rabbit. That sound again. It was so soft and light. Couldn't even imagine that it was a gunshot, but this time the car's windows didn't break, and it didn't blow a hole in me either. It missed? Was he too focused on Izaki? She won't be that lucky again. Move.
The Maho sprite.
Hold on, can we... What's the, Where's the hide button?
Full screen? Is it backspace? There we go.
Oh, that's a good Maho face. Maho, what are you so scared about, huh? Ugh. Did the mouse die? Is that... I pushed Maho into the back seat and crawled into the driver's side. Thankfully, the engine was still running. I slammed down on the pedal without even bothering to shut the door. The sound of a powerful engine shook the underground air. The attacker flinched at the incredible noise and vibration, but the car didn't move forward. It didn't move an inch.
Shift.
You need to put it in drive.
Dr. Leskinen and Maho were keeping their heads low in the back seat and shouting loud enough to be heard over the engine. I took my foot off the accelerator, glanced over at the gear shift. It was stuck next to the end. What am I supposed to do?
Do you have a license?
No, of course not.
What?
And then, through the windshield, I saw the attacker ready with his gun again. He was aiming at me. The look in his eyes told me he was ready to kill without hesitation.
A soul will not dwell within Silicon.
Crap! Cracks like spiderweb appeared in the windshield. Something went past the side of my head. Ugh. I felt a sharp pain, and at the same time a ringing in my ears. And all the other sounds faded away and started to disappear. I felt myself passing out. And then Maho jumped over the seat and slid into the passenger side.
Close the door! Now!
Ugh! My mind was pulled back to reality. I slammed the door shut just as she told me. Maho shifted from neutral to drive and leaned over the top of me to grab the wheel.
Floor it!
It's another really good CG. I slammed the accelerator so hard that for a moment the wheels were almost spinning in place, and the car leapt forward. Ah! The attacker was getting closer. We were going to hit him. I was about to take my foot off the accelerator when...
Leave it!
Maho shouted. I gritted my teeth and did as she did. There was no impact. Evidently, the attacker had leapt away at the last second to avoid being crushed. There's no time to confirm it as the car raced through the parking garage. We were going too fast, and since Maho was controlling the car from the passenger seat, she couldn't keep it going in a straight line. The car spun to the left and right. I was almost flung out the broken window. I grabbed onto the edge of the seat as hard as I could. We headed for the exit, slamming into walls and pillars as we went. Who is that guy?
No fucking idea!
Right, go right. I could see an exit sign in front of us.
I can't turn fast enough!
I pressed the brake and put my hand on top of Maho's, turning the wheel to the right. But that was the wrong thing to do. The rear tire slipped. The car spun in a circle. And then it came to a stop. Are you okay?
Yeah, what about the professor?
I looked back and saw Dr. Leskinen lying face up on the seat, giving me a thumbs up sign.
Let me take over!
Right. I quickly put my hand on the door and got ready to get out of the driver's seat, but then I saw an old creaky sedan rumbling towards us and shivered. It was the man from a moment ago. He was following us and moving really fast.
Get out! He's gonna ram us!
That was the.
Oh, wait, who was that?
That was Okabe.
Oh, get out, he's gonna ram us!
This door won't open!
And it broken when we slammed into the wall. I grabbed Maho out of the passenger seat and rolled outside. Dr. Leskinen rolled out of the rear door. Also appearing in this car chase. It was less than a second afterward that the sedan hit. If we'd been even just a little too slow, we could have been turned into mincemeat.
Dr. Leskinen is just silently chilling in the back seat the whole time.
With the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Hey! I stood up and offered Maho a hand, then moved away from the unrecognizable wreck that used to be a car. Are you all right?
Thank you.
Both cars were smashed together. Oh, that's pleasant! The attacker's sedan was completely embedded in the rear half of the car we'd been driving. There was no way he could have survived. There were no tire marks in the ground, which meant he'd slammed into us without braking. I shivered. I'd almost been killed. Anyway, I need to contact the cops. About to pull up my smartphone when the security guards heard the commotion and came running. Excuse me, please, call the police! Security guard nodded and contacted the police. Oh, it hurts. I feel a pulsing ache on the side of my head. It's a shot from the gun that had grazed me. Hey, inaccurate. Wait, no, that's correct Maho footwear. She's got one croc and one sandal.
Wow.
That's 100% accurate. I hadn't felt the pain at all while I was driving, but I fearfully reached up to touch it and felt blood flowing through my temple down my face. I gulped when I saw that my fingertips had turned bright red. I saw Mayuri when she was shot in the head. I almost saw Kurisu when I'd killed her. The images felt like they were about to come flashing back to me, and I struggled to stay standing.
You're covered in blood! Did you get hit?
Maho went pale. Is this a bad place to get hit?
Something called the superficial temporal artery there.
Let me see it. I'm going to touch you a little.
Dr. Leskinen looked at the wound. When he touched me, I felt more pain, but gritted my teeth to endure it.
It's okay. You're not that badly hurt.
I'm glad.
Use this.
Thank you. I put the handkerchief he offered me up to my temple.
Guy who attacked us. He was the one at the seminar.
Really?
You don't remember? He was the guy you yelled at.
Oh.
Okabe
fuck?
pissed this guy off so much that he decided to come finish the job.
Actually, the fuck? That's right. Sounded like he was just insulting Kurisu, so I shouted objection at him. That was the guy. Was this a way of getting back at me? Not a chance. The souls God granted dwell within us. The children of God, they will never dwell within silicon.
Huh? What's that?
He was saying that before he fired the gun.
Was he talking about Amadeus?
I don't know. I could faintly hear police car sirens in the distance. The hotel security guards and staff were starting to gather. How do we explain this?
We tell them exactly what happened. I mean, we don't exactly know either, but...
And then Maho's eyes went wide. She, Dr. Leskinen, and the crowd were all staring at a single point. I looked, too, and almost screamed.
Woe to the world. Such things must come. Woe to the person through whom they come.
The man crawled out from the wreckage of the sedan covered in blood. And then he staggered to his feet. He looked like a zombie. All his limbs except the one holding the gun were pointed off in impossible directions, and I could see what looked like bone sticking out from them. His stomach was torn open. Each time he crawled forward, I could see major organs covered in blood falling out of the hole, but he moved toward us as if he felt no pain at all. It was such an awful sight that no one could speak. The man unsteadily aimed the gun towards Dr. Leskinen. He must have been on the verge of death because his arm was flailing around too much to aim, but Dr. Leskinen's expression was pure terror, and he seemed unable to move.
Blasphemy. Soul. Woe.
Professor, run! A shot rang out. Fresh blood flew out of the man's head, and his body was blown away as if it had been hit by a truck. He fell to the ground, clutching his gun. He tried to crawl forward anyway, but soon twitched and stopped moving. The crowd began to scream. What? The attacker had been shot. Did he shoot himself? No, that gunshot was clearly different than the last ones. Who's there? Who had just fired? I looked around. I could see several policemen coming from the entrance, but none of them had their guns drawn. The crowd was nothing but security and hotel staff. I couldn't see any of them carrying a gun. So who had fired and where they'd fired from? The way they took the attacker's head off with a single shot. Not just anyone could do that. What's going on? Of course, no one told me. Afterward, the police took us into custody. We're taking the police station in question until late into the night. The sun was about to rise by the time we left. Police took me home in a patrol car. Dr. Leskinen and Maho were having the police take them back to their hotel in Waco, so we split up in front of the police station. We never did find out why the man had attacked us.
Well, shit.
Well, that's fun.
Stuff is really heating up, huh?
Yeah, and I guess we'll have to figure out what happens.
Next time?
Next time! Why is Suzuha dizzy? There's no way to know. We'll see you all then, though. Bye!
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.